All right, so shout out to Kadiatu. She sent me this topic. I thought it was dope. It's kind of one of those forever arguments, you know. Shout out to John B. Shout out to Tyrese, Wesley Snipes. Who's another light skinned dude I could use?
Wesley Snipes is not light
Wesley
skinned.
Snipes. Nigga, what?
Need another light skin. I went back and forth. I did
Okay.
Tyrese, then I went Wesley, and
Oh
then
no.
Denzel don't count, but you catch my drift. So
Shamar Moore, Michael Ealy, them light skinned niggas.
who do the cheap CBS shows, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, colorism. All right, you know this was a thing where we kind of joke about it, but how serious is it? You know, so is colorism still affecting the black community? Is colorism still affecting the black community? Pierre, what you think?
Oh, you're gonna start with me today. Yes, yes, it is. Um, and I don't know how much of it is all internal versus, I guess, environmental. So, like, anytime something goes wrong, especially, and you see it amongst women, really, it's the light skinned girls. It's always light skinned girls and dark skinned girls, back and forth, back and forth. If the light skinned girl didn't get it, it's whatever. But if the dark skinned girl doesn't get it, it's all my life I had to fight. It happens with guys too. I never knew this, but I've had guy friends tell me like, oh, like my dark skinned friends, I think I'm dark skinned, like I'm brown skinned, whatever. But my dark skinned friends like, no, you're light and you don't deal with what we deal with. Like people don't look at us the same. I'm just like, that's dumb. I'm brown. Everybody brown. Um, but yeah, long story short, yes, it's a problem.
Okay, Pete, what you think, Corey?
I honestly don't think it's that big of a deal in society nowadays. I think it's overblown. They gotta, I think there's a few people that like participate or spread those types of things, and they get like looked at as like the majority, even though it's only like a handful of people that really subscribe to that kind of stuff, man. I think overall I just don't see it being an issue in my experience. So no, I don't think it's an issue today.
Aisha?
I think it still exists. I've had a guy who preferred darker skinned women tell me that I wasn't dark enough. So I mean, it goes both ways.
Hmm. Do you think that that's more of an outlier, like anecdotal?
Mm, no.
Okay. Like usually it's the other way. Like, and I think our evidence is music videos, stuff like that, where it's usually lighter skinned women. So that's why I
But
ask.
I think it's, and I've seen this a lot too. A lot of lighter skinned men prefer darker women, just like a lot of darker skinned men prefer lighter women.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I see that trend.
So tomorrow, is it still affecting us? Colorism?
Absolutely. But I also think it depends when you're talking about dating or just in general. I think it depends on region too, right? Like, so I don't know where everybody else is from, but like being in Connecticut, I grew up in a town where like Spanish women were the popular thing. Like black women just were never the it thing, at least where I grew up. Um, I didn't have such a negative experience. One, I didn't date. I was always the homie. I'm a clown and whatever. And then I started dating really early. So I was already taken out of that category. But unless you had a certain look, you know, unless you had a European look, you know, you were thin or you had certain hair type or you dressed a certain way, black women weren't being checked for at all. I don't know anyone in my immediate friend base in Connecticut. I think at the time when I was married, there was only one other couple that was black or that had another guy that had a black wife, and she wasn't even black. She's biracial. I knew nobody else outside of my sister that had black husband and wife or black relationship dynamic. It just doesn't exist up here. And I don't think it's because black men aren't attracted to black women. I think it's because the variety or the choice that they have. Now, if you go down south, you have a choice of a variety of black women that are intelligent, that are educated, that are beautiful, that are taken care of. You know, we just don't have that same population. So I think that it depends on region. But does it
So,
affect us? Absolutely.
so you're saying that because black men have Hispanic women to choose from, because that's what it is up at home for the most part in terms of who people date, and they choose the Hispanic women, right? Is that even worse, or is that exactly saying that we still have an issue with this? That they
I
don't
think,
see our women as beautiful.
but how many black women in our immediate community? The community is small up here, right? So you have like these small towns, and they're intersectional. So you have about 10 bad black women, and all that, like, out of these 10 women, everybody dates everybody. So like, you go back to crew loving. My homie already dated her, and it's the same 10 black women that are being cycled. Right? There's just not enough black families up here for you to have black relationships.
Hmm.
So if you don't lock down the few women that are available, then you're gonna have to go to something else. Now, as soon as somebody steps out of their district, they leave Connecticut, they go to DC, they go to New York, even they go to New Jersey, they start saying, okay, well, now I'm interested in black women. So I don't
So then
know if
it
it's a
wasn't. So then it wasn't about colorism. It was about
I
availability.
don't know that it was exactly. So I don't know that it's always about colorism more so than availability for black men.
And are we saying black as in the entire diaspora or black as in black American?
American.
You have
Okay,
to say
so
black
what?
American, because black American men are the only one that struggle with colorism. I
Right. So
think.
I didn't meet all of my friends back in Connecticut. We were all like all of our families were from somewhere else. So I'm Cape Verdean. All my family is Cape Verdean. My friends are Brazilian, my friends are Jamaican, West Indian, whatever the case may be. So there's already an exotic look to all of those categories. So I saw that. But if you're talking about like Black American, like yeah, my family came here or moved up here from North Carolina or something. I didn't meet people from that weren't. I didn't meet Black Americans, quote unquote, that were just based in America until I went to college in Atlanta. Everybody I know back in Connecticut is something exotic, if you want to call it. Mind you, we've all been born in Connecticut, but like that is what it is. So
Then
what
where
you
did you
see
live?
is,
You probably lived in Windsor, Bloomfield, or where?
no, I'm from Hamden. I'm from the 203.
Okay, so then that's also a black community, right? Hamden, Windsor, Bloomfield, Middletown, even they're their own community of black folks.
Hmm.
Okay.
But I do think so. Back to your question of is colorism still a thing? I think that it's based on availability, not so much color right now.
Yeah.
Before, I think it was more of an issue, but I think if we're talking about in 2021 going into 2022, I think it's based on availability.
Okay. Now my experience is a little bit different, coming from the same demographic where a lot of the guys thought that the other women were just more prettier. Honestly, were more attractive than black women, right? They don't have the this is stereotypical terminology, but beady beads, and they don't be ashy and all that stuff, right?
It
So
also, do you think that has to do with social
colorism,
economics or color?
I think it's like they literally don't see their women as beautiful because
Like, are
it
you
is
Colorism.
could be
hood
better.
girls? Like, you know what I mean? There's a difference in social economics, because if you don't have the money to get your hair done, we know black women, they cost, the maintenance. And if you can't keep yourself up, you might look a little rough around the edges. That's just the way it is,
Well,
regardless of what color you are.
kinda, but also when straight hair is deemed to be acceptable and beautiful, right? Um, they're looking for that already, right? And so black women don't naturally have that. And now it's a colorism thing. When they see the Hispanic girl that has that, she has some hue as well. She can get tan a little bit, but she's going to be lighter, right? The men are saying, "Oh, this is less attractive than just not just, but just a black woman."
There you go.
being that we are both from Middletown,
That's from the Connecticut.
I Corey, don't do that. I agree. I think to answer your first question, yes, colorism still exists. I know my personal experience being at home, I did not embrace being a Black girl until I went to college in the DMV area and went to an HBCU. And I was definitely told that if you weren't as light skinned, I don't think I would have liked you because they prefer Spanish looking, what they prefer Hispanic women. And, you know, being Caribbean, you know, we all look very different. But as we were speaking of in the Black American community, colorism does exist. You know, it wasn't until I came to college to where I embraced my natural hair. Well, I was able to, but I don't have to have a perm. I don't have to have this. That we are beautiful in all different shades. When I look at television and society, typically you saw it be in like videos, they portray the ambiguous looking women. It's not Black women, it's the ambiguous looking women. Even in the Hispanic culture, it's the white Hispanics that you see on television that are deemed to be beautiful. So colorism doesn't just exist in the Black American community. It exists among Black people in general. But again, like just speaking as to being at home, I definitely personally experienced the, well, you're Black, but I like you only because you're light skinned, but I prefer X, Y. It was not until I went around people who were around all Black people their entire life where they appreciated the beauty of Black women, where they appreciated the beauty of all shades, all different hair, all different body types. So it's definitely a thing.
Yeah, I've had darker skinned Black women not be like, you know what, girl, we're friends, but I don't want to hang out with you because you're on the lighter hue. I'm like, first of all, I'm brown. Like I thought I was brown up until, you know, I work from home, so I'm a little on the lighter side, but I always felt like I was brown skinned. But for my friends that were of a darker hue, they would say, you know what, we're not gonna really rock with you. We cool, but I don't want to go out with you to the club, or I don't want to go out with you to happy hour because I feel like you're going to get more attention. So I would have friends say, like, I don't want to hang out with you specifically because you're on the lighter scale. I already know what type it is. I'm not going to get the attention. And so maybe I don't have the same experience as maybe browner women than I do. But I've experienced it as a friend where brown women have said, you know what, you my girl, but we're not going out to happy hour with you. We're not going to go out to a club with you.
Where does it? So I think some of like what I hear y'all saying and stuff that like I seen a music video, they had light skinned chicks in there. Colorism is still a thing. Like I don't really think that that's a great example. I think especially like I know like in my real life, I have a ton of Black male friends, and none of us date anything other than Black women. Like there aren't any other.
Where were you?
Where are you from?
Brought up?
I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I live in DC now.
That does not count.
Wait, that's two different. Wait, so I live in Baton Rouge, I live in Houston, Texas, and I live in DC now. So I live in 3 different major cities.
Black,
but you never
live in DC now. I live in DC now.
Black and blacker.
Again, they got if there was a colorism issue, it would exist everywhere. Like does it only exist in Middletown, Connecticut? Then that ain't.
Well, I'm from Middletown too, but I haven't experienced it like that. I mean, I dated a pretty popular guy in high school, and I feel like I'm Black as they come. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. If this only exists in Connecticut, this ain't a real issue.
But that's not true because if you look at casting calls,
I mean, it happens
now for videos.
That's why I brought up television.
There was a casting call that literally said no darkies. Talking about women. They were casting for women for a music video. It said no darkies.
All right. So I guess so then now we're talking about like in white people's eyes or within the Black community. I think Hamp's initial question was about within the Black community.
Within the Black community.
In white people's eyes, they may still have some colorism issues. I don't disagree with that. But I think within the Black community, I don't know if those things exist at the same level. But for white people, sure, they.
I think that Black women are now becoming popular. We're becoming the it thing, right? Even amongst our own men, we're just popular, right? The having a Black woman is popular, is cool. Not to you because you grew up. You can't
having a Black woman is always well. So the facts say the overwhelming majority of Black men marry Black women.
I agree with that.
Like by far and away, like almost 90%.
85%
Black men marry Black women.
Yeah, 85%. Yep.
85%, right? So that's not even like a new thing, right? So that's what I'm saying. When you look at the stats, almost all black men marry black women. So, but people will
So
have you believe that all the niggas marry the chicks from the videos. They don't.
So when I speak about colorism, and the reason that I brought up the music videos, I talk about representation, right? So for example, we kept showing clips of the show Insecure. Issa Rae, Yvonne Orji, who plays Molly, they are two darker skinned black women, and they were the leads of the show. They were deemed to be like they had the opportunity to shine and be sexy, to be valued in a way that's not necessarily displayed on television. Because what other shows do you see on mainstream marketing? Do you see that the darker skinned black women have the appeal, that they are the attraction? How often do you see that? That's not a thing.
But that's white marketing, I think. So we're talking about white marketing, but what Ham's question was, amongst the black community, is there colorism, like against each other, right? So like, do I feel a certain way against women of a lighter hue, or do you feel a certain way against women of a darker hue? My family is of all color. Like my mother is yellow. Everybody in my family is yellow, but I used to want to lay in the sun to be as dark as night because that's what was taught to me, right? So I only knew like black skin was beautiful, even though everybody that I looked at in my family was of a lighter hue. But what Hamp's question is, like, between me and you, do I have an issue with you because you're lighter than I am? Or do you have, or do you have an issue with Isha because she's brown? Or do we look at light skinned men as soft? I do.
Yes.
I do. I do. I do. I do.
Even on like even a more I guess a micro level. So like I have family members, and the saying has always been, you don't bring somebody dark home. Like in my grandmother's house,
home, don't bring them home.
But my grandmother is like super prejudicial, and will purposely exclude if she thinks you are like too dark or too black. She'll just be like, mm-mm. And like that. So with my sister was born, my second sister, she's like the darkest one out of all of us. The nickname they gave her out the womb, like everybody rushed over and was like, oh, Platina, Platina, Platina. It means little darky. Mm-hmm. And my mother lost it because they told her, they're like, oh, it's in term of endearment, but that's not how they were saying it.
Yeah.
And like that's something that's brought in these families, especially, I would say all black families, but especially if you're from like another country, another culture, and it's like, So now you have a new generation of young black men and women that are here, and it's like, if I don't already have an identity issue, maybe I should get one, because society says this, but family says this, and your family's your first set of teachers. So then here we are as adults. Not the code.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah. So now that I'm thinking, right, if we use some real examples, so Corey is correct. All of our friends have black wives or women, with the exception of one. And he always wrestling with something though. It's almost like an internal conflict with him.
Right. I agree. There's always this battle. And I don't want to use this example, but I know somebody in my immediate family that will not touch a black woman. They just won't. Grew up with us, black women, beautiful. Like, I feel like I come from a beautiful black family, but won't touch a black woman. He will love his family, but will not touch a black woman. He said, I've dated a black woman, I tried it one time, but like, I don't know, like, ugh.
But some of that might not be colorism. Some of that isn't on a beauty standpoint. Some of it is like mental, like they don't like the attitude or the things of that nature that they feel come with black women. It isn't necessarily, I don't think they look good. It's just like they be feisty, or they want to go through a whole phase, or
but like even still, with all of that knowledge that you just expressed, that you and your friends and your partners have, you still, with all of that knowledge, still will choose a black woman, or not, at least not even choose, but not exclude them from the pool.
All right.
With all of that, I'm talking about complete exclusion.
I would, but I wouldn't allow that one guy who's an outlier to impact our view of the group. You know what I'm saying? So there's gonna always be an outlier. There's gonna be some fool that don't like black chicks. There's gonna be some fool that's stuck on light skinned women with big booties and like that. But you can't allow that dude to like represent the whole group. And like, I think for the overall, that's just not the view of the group.
And listen, there's somebody for you. Not if I'm not for you, I'm cool with that. Like I've always been confident in that. Like even growing up in the community where like black women were never the popular thing, but I'm cool with that. Like if I'm not for you, I'm not for you. I'm cool. I'm gonna go find me a black man that is for me though.
Right.
I never struggled with the fact of everybody around me is dating these Spanish girls or white girls or whatever. I never struggled with that. It's just like, all right, well then you're just not for me. I always was the girl that didn't have any boyfriend. And it wasn't because I wasn't cute. It was just like, this is the thing, this is what's popular. But I feel like women have to have, I think you went back to, did you change your name? What is all this?
Ooh.
Okay. Your man in the upper left-hand corner, he got too many, there's a lot of names going on.
No. Go ahead.
But what he was saying was that it goes back to family, right? So what your family instills in you is what you believe. Right? So if you believe
well, I think at some point you got to be smart enough to grow out of that, right? So like Pierre was saying, like his grandma said something when he was a little kid, but at some point you got to grow out of that and be like, that's stupidity, and I can't continue to preach that or believe in those sorts of things. And you even probably need to stand up and speak against it. You know what I'm saying? If you hear people sharing that kind of rhetoric.
That's easy. That's easier said
that's
than
based
done.
on experience, right?
Like if you do it, you got to do it.
But that's based on experience. Like when you're experiencing things out in the real world, then you realize this is not right. I have
if I'm around some people now and I hear them say negative things about black women, I'm gonna stand up and be like, yo, bro, that's stupid. That don't even make sense. Like just like I wouldn't allow that sort of thinking to even exist around me. Like that.
Right, based on your experience probably with black women around you, right? Like you've probably had some experiences with black women where like this is just not true. Right? Like this is just not true. So it's based on exposure, it's based on experience, it's based on family dynamic.
Yeah, a lot of that shit be true about y'all though.
Y'all still fuck with us, so I mean,
cut it out.
You still fuck with us. I'd only be concerned if somebody was like, I don't fuck with you, like ever. Until I experience that, I ain't worried about it.
Well, I mean, we are.
I'm bringing my Caucasian friend to the cookout.
No, you're not. Where's the cookout?
Your house.
No.
Get him out of
here. So interesting. So you said that you didn't really see it that way, right? You haven't experienced colorism because you are of a little bit darker hue. So this hasn't come past your radar or, to your forefront.
Are you asking me?
Yes, ma'am.
Not in Middletown. I haven't seen it. In Middletown, I might say there's more of a classism over colorism. I haven't experienced it in Middletown.
How about school?
In Middletown High?
No, college.
No, I went to a black school, so.
Well, that's
I guess you like what you like, right? That's what I looked at it as. You like what you like, and I didn't see too many Hispanic women walking around Elizabeth City.
Well, so more so light skin. So, question: do you see, Aisha, light skinned men as soft?
I did, but then I've experienced one that wasn't so soft.
So he changed the narrative for all light skin.
Yeah. My first opinion is, oh, he's soft. You light skin. You're gonna have to show me something different. You might want your hand soft as mine. I don't know.
Okay. Alex, when you see a dark skinned guy, do you think he's rough and tough?
No. No.
What is the stigma, Alex, for dark skinned guys? Because we know the stigma for light skin.
Is he pretty?
No, dark skin.
They're just gorgeous.
For dark skin, I think the stigma that people have is that they're more masculine, they're protectors, they're more desired by women. versus with lighter skinned men. I think the stigma is that they're soft. For me, that has not been my experience. I am married to a lighter skinned man, so that has not been my experience.
Where does brown skin fit into more?
Lost. We get lost in the sauce.
Like the middle ground.
Yeah, like us. Like I think the whole top we're probably brown.
Like if you describe, like if you had to put them into categories, like if you had to put them like into fraternities, you would describe either a brown skin or lighter hue man as a Kappa. You would describe a browner skinned man as a Q.
Okay.
Like if we're gonna use that example.
Okay. And these
But
are
brown
stereotypes.
I just think that there's an animal. There's browner skin. I think browner skin people can go either way, right? They're in the middle.
So brown skin people get to define if they soft or tough.
Yeah, you could walk the line.
Okay, so if you brown and tough, you can be that. If you brown and soft, you could be that too.
You could be that too, right? You could walk the line of either or.
But if you're
They're
light,
invisible.
but if you're light, you have to prove you're tough.
Absolutely.
And if you're dark, you have to prove you're soft.
Absolutely.
Hey, we more fucked up than we think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's but it's the way, like, I don't know where that's happened, and I'm sure I don't know if it's through media or whatever it is, but you just automatically see a lighter hue man as more of a softer guy, right? Not soft and like he can't protect you, but just a all around softer male.
But that goes back to slavery, right?
Absolutely.
Got it. The lighter skinned slaves were kept in the house. You were the house slave.
Absolutely.
The darker slaves were kept outside. You were doing the manual labor.
And they was fine, just all sweaty, picking cotton with their strong ass.
Yeah, I think it's definitely systemic. So